I've only used the Domino once for building the tabletop, so I still have a lot to learn about it. But it's definitely a lot more than an alignment tool like your biscuit joiner. Do you own a biscuit joiner?
We don't have a biscuit joiner in the shop, no.
You don't need one?
We've used them in the past, but we've found that we get by with just the Domino. So the Domino, they make two different sizes. This is the smaller of the two, which is the DF 500. What this does is it cuts a mortise for, you know, what's basically a slip tenon, what they would refer to as a slip tenon or a floating tenon. So it has an oscillating cutter. This thing spins and it also moves back and forth like this, so it cuts a slot. Has 3 different widths for, you know, exact, a little slop, and then extra slop. And, you know, you can adjust it like a biscuit joiner for not only the height of the cut, but also the depth of the cut. So you can use different size of these dominoes.
So what I want to do is bring the camera over here, get real tight, and you can show us exactly how you adjust it, what dominoes that you use most often. I know the bits are pretty expensive, so you might not want to go out and get all the bits.
Yep.
You might just want to use, you know, 1 or 2 bits to get started with this.
Right, and that's what we do. So we've sort of found what works for us, and that's what we stick to. So we'll go through and show you sort of how everything works here on the Domino. We have 2 pieces of 1-inch material here. So if you were to join these, you know, edge join them like this, you want to take your fence, bring it down to 90 degrees. Over here is the height adjustment, and this little stepped portion here will actually adjust your thickness. So 1-inch material is 25 millimeters nominally. So we're going to set this to 25, make sure it's down, lock it. On top here you have your width settings for the mortise. You only want to run this when you only want to turn this, I'm sorry, when the machine is running. And you notice we're hooked up to dust collection. You really need to run dust collection on this, otherwise you're going to end up packing that mortise full of chips. Here is the depth of cut. So you see we have it set to 20 because we're using a 6x40 Domino, so it's 6 millimeters thick and 40 millimeters long. 20 is going to give us, you know, half and half on either side. So let's make a little mark. We can actually turn this on and make a cut. So we're going to be joining it approximately there. The first mortise is cut, so this is the 6x40 Domino. You see it fits in there halfway. What we can do is turn on the machine and actually switch to this wider cut. That way, these pieces, we have a little bit of wiggle room to get them dead aligned, you know, when you do the clamp up. So it's very good feature because sometimes you get some human error. If you get some dust in here, you might not be perfectly lined up. So this ensures that you'll be able to get your joint lined up. So with that wider setting, we have a wider mortise. When you bring them together, see we have a little bit of room here for adjustment. There's an even wider setting that'll give you even more. This is good when you have multiple dominoes that you're trying to line up. It lets you get them together and not run into any issues with one of them being slightly off. You see we have some glue here that's not letting this joint close up, but be able to get a nice strong joint, get it perfectly flushed up. That was a cut with a 6 millimeter bit and the 6x40 Domino. For 1-inch material, we tend to default to either a 10x50 or an 8x40. We'll go ahead and change the bit, show you how to do that. We'll put on the 8 millimeter cutter here. So there's a little release on the top of the Domino. You stick the provided wrench in there and lift up, and it'll release this front assembly with your vacuum attached to it. So essentially here what you have is a drill that oscillates. You can turn it on and see how it works. You have your lock here. So now that doesn't turn. Take off the 6mm cutter. You can thread on the 8. Just like a router, table saw, you don't have to go crazy here tightening this down. Then you take this fence assembly, just pushes back on. So we'll put a mark where we want our domino. This is the same way you would do it with a biscuit joiner. We're on the middle setting. Here on the fence you have a nice thin black line that delineates the center of the cutter. Something that helps with the action of cutting is you want to hold this back here sort of on the plug. And that's coming directly from Festool, and I've noticed that it's definitely a lot easier to cut holding it that way rather than trying to grip it up here. We have our other mark here. There's your 8x40. So we have an 8x40 and a 6x40. And we're in that medium setting, so we have a little room for adjustment. That's how you would do a series of dominoes on an edge glue up.
All right, Jeff, well, thanks for the tour. I know that because you've told me you don't have a biscuit joiner. I've been using a biscuit joiner for years. I doubt I'm going to use it as much now. So you think this basically replaces your biscuit joiner, or even more, obviously?
It does. It kind of does everything a biscuit joiner will do, but then more. You know, it's more structural than a biscuit. Exactly.
And the other thing too is it kind of comes down to how many tools do you want to store and have around. So if you can have one tool that kind of does everything, you don't need two.
Yeah, this is an 800 square foot shop. There's 2 of us in here, plus the projects you see. This is one thing that's taken up, takes up a lot of space. So we need to run lean and mean and just have what we need and nothing really extra because, we don't have the space.
Cool. All right, well, you guys know where to find Jeff. You can check them out on their YouTube channel at greenstreetjoinery.com or just Green Street Joinery on YouTube. And your podcast, The American Craftsman.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. I hope you found this video helpful.